Welcome to Podnutz Daily, episode number 329. The show about computer repair. It's by computer repair technicians for computer repair technicians. We give tips and tricks and computer repair nuggets of information, and just even it could even go as far as just anything in the computer field. You know, we try to keep it broad and just give you the best information we can and mix it up and keep it interesting. And we do that by having technicians and business owners come on the show and impart some good stuff to you. Again, tonight is no different. For the first time on Podnutz Daily, we have Greg White from FixMyPC99.com. What's up, Greg?
Hi, Steve. I'm glad to be on Podnutz. I've only started listening about 3 or 4 months ago, but have worked my way back through about 100 hours of Podnutz Daily shows.
Nice. Gosh, 100 hours. I guess that roughly translates into 100 shows?
Yeah.
Damn. That's a lot of
I'm
speaking.
back now to before you moved to Florida.
Really? That must be an interesting trip of going back in history like that.
It is. And you know, I thought at some point in time I would run out of useful things, you know, because the information would be too dated. Not so. I'm going to keep going back as far as I can and pick, because I pick up, I hate to say it, I pick up several things out of every show.
That's a good thing to say.
Well, I'm supposed to know a little bit.
No, that's great. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think a lot of people would be concerned, like, oh, I don't want to go back a year or whatever. It's just not going to be up to date. But you said it, so you're hearing it. So that's good. I guess the shows have some lasting power.
Yes, they do.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your business?
All right. I guess I ought to start by just saying that the first computer I ever used was an HP. It was a monochrome green screen CRT running DOS. I don't remember the version. The program I had to master was SuperCalc, I believe. I was working in a Fortune 500 company. I was an audiovisual manager, and I was told that all of a sudden my department was going to be cost recovery, and I had to do everything on the computer. I never had touched a computer before.
You went from audio-visual to cost recovery?
Yes, so cost recovery for my unit, my department.
Right, I see.
So, you know, before we just had an internal budget, but the company was experiencing economic troubles, and so they wanted to make sure it was cheaper to have all of us geeky photographic artistic people around than to hire somebody outside that, you know, they didn't have to pay insurance on and stuff.
I see. That sounds interesting.
So my whole reference, because at that point in time in the early 80s, IT was confined to the accounting and payroll department where the mainframe was. So my whole support network was a shelf of books that were HP about how to use the computer.
Really? That's awesome. Back in the day. So you're running DOS.
Yeah. So I had to become kind of a support person for the people that couldn't get it, didn't want to sit down and go through all the material.
Did you like doing that?
Yeah, it caught on, because then I had to buy a computer for home, which was a Commodore 128. I didn't want the wedge that was the 64, so I actually had an internal hard drive. And then the first computer I bought when that company that I was working for ended up having a Black Friday and laying off a third of its corporate headquarter staff people. Why I formed a video production company, so I bought a Mac 128, and we did our scripting and all our production stuff as far as the paper stuff on the Mac, the original Mac.
The Mac 128.
Yeah.
That's the one. That's the original Macintosh.
That's original. Came out in 1985. I bought one of the first ones out.
What'd you think about that?
Yeah, well, you know, you turned it on, you got the little smiley face, you know, and everything ran, you know, if you had to buy a second external floppy drive so that you could have the application on one disk and then save your files to the other floppy.
Right. Wow.
So
that's awesome.
And I became a master. One of the programs I picked up that was games. I'm not a gamer, but I became a master at Mac Attack, which was a tank battle game that ran on the 128.
Really? Now, the Mac 128 was just a one-button mouse, right? Black and white screen, right?
Right, monochrome screen.
Sweet.
Yeah. And when we upgraded it to, you wanted more memory, the 512, I had to go back to Apple in California because they had to open up and gut it and put in the new guts.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
It was not user upgradable. Of course.
Oh man. I wonder if Steve Wozniak was actually installing memory back in those days.
I've still got the Mac 128.
Dude, I was going to ask you that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm not sure. It's in storage. I'll have to get it out and see if it will even start up. I noticed the last time I peeked in the box, the case was a little yellow.
Yeah, I'd be worried. I'm almost afraid this bar started up. That's neat, though. It's a nice little piece of history right there.
So anyway, I've been doing it for about 28 years, one kind of or another.
It's commendable. Awesome.
So that brings me, I guess, to why I wanted to come on the show, don't you think?
Yeah. Tell us.
Well, excuse me. I was really had gotten totally out of PC support several years ago. If you hear a knocking at the door, that's people hitting the website. We'll talk about that in a minute here.
Okay.
So I don't know. I have to look, but it sounds like I've had about 4 people land on the website since the show started.
You mean fixmypc99.com?
Yes. I've got live chat that I'll tell you about, and it monitors the people. I can tell you where they're coming from, what version of Windows they're running, or well, you landed on the website a couple of days ago, and I saw your Florida city. I can't think what it is.
Brandon.
Yeah, and it was about 10 minutes after you sent me, or 5-10 minutes after you sent me an email.
Yes.
And I think you must have gone to the website, and I said, who would be running a Mac and landing on a PC repair site? And I started thinking about it. I go, that's got to be Steve.
You were right. And if you heard it just knocking now, it's because I just went to your site now.
Oh, okay. And someone's asked for a chat request that's outside of the regular chat program. So whoever it is, I'm sorry, I'm not going to answer it right now. We're busy.
Yes, thank you.
So anyway, trying to get back on topic so I don't wander too far. I was worried about getting it all in, and then I'm wandering off topic here and elaborating way too much.
It's okay.
But I had been out of the business, went through a change in my marital status, and about a year ago, and needed to double up my income real quick, because I had really, over about a 5-year period, gotten to where I was just doing online e-commerce stuff. Okay. Not eBay. I had moved off eBay. It's too expensive. And was just doing some web stores that were, regular web stores. And so I said, well, I guess I can go fix PCs. And through a friend, I actually got hooked up with working with a company that had nonprofit senior housing, and they had all these internal services, internet, cable TV, telephone, and everything that they needed support. And of course, they were on a budget.
Of course. So
I went in for a year and serviced their facilities and kind of got them taken care of. But it was about middle of this year when I really said, well, I need to go the next step, and I don't fix laptops. I have never wanted to open them up. I just didn't like the idea of prying apart plastic cases.
Yes.
And so I was doing some research for tutorials or training on repairing computers, and I came across Podnutz.
So did you come across the laptop repair videos first, or the Podnutz website? Did you?
Yeah.
I always wonder how many people buy the videos and then get introduced to Podnutz. I think a lot of people who bought the videos don't even know that the podcast exists. And I was thinking about sending out a bulk email to them, but it's good you found it.
Yeah. Well, I saw this Podnutz logo, and I figured, what does Podnutz have to do with video training? So,
Right.
curiosity, I had to backtrack to your main site.
Good.
So anyway, it's that's where I found the audios, and I started saying, man, because you've got all the podcasts. I didn't even realize you were archiving some of the video stuff on your website until today when I was looking around, because I just found the audio link, and I'm really a Linux guy. So I took GPodder, which is a podcast program for Linux, and just queued up your feed and started downloading and listening.
Sweet. And so did you start off with Podnutz Daily or Podnutz, or which one?
I started out with Podnutz Daily. I don't know really why, and I'm sticking with it until I get to the end.
Nice. That's great. That's great. I'm glad you found it. And now you're on and you're sharing with others.
Yeah, well, it was going through all that stuff. One, I no longer felt alone, which was a tremendous relief. Because we basically work by ourselves.
Right.
When you're running a one-man shop, this business is really easy to get into.
Yes.
And, and it's easy to walk away from and come back to.
Right.
So it's a great fallback, but the advantage of that also means that we have a lot of extra competition too, because the skills are relatively easily attained. And there, really aren't any licensing requirements or anything to work in our business.
Right.
So I started listening as I got in about 20 hours or so. I started seeing some general themes, and I changed my opinion on where I wanted to go with my business, and wanted to really try to develop a business that would prototype maybe some things that most of us aren't doing now, and that maybe we could employ to make us more competitive and be able to stand up with some of the big guys that are coming to the market, the box companies and the other stuff.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah. So, that's me. I'm sorry. I got to go back and look at my notes here. And
well, what kind of stuff, if you don't mind getting into it, like what did you mean by prototyping? Like trying different things, or? Well,
one of the recurring things I heard was the fact that if we're a one-man shop, if we go out and do mobile repair, and most of us, mobile repair is the easiest way to go. I mean, I live in Gainesville, Georgia, which is 50 miles northeast of Atlanta. And I live surrounded by Lake Lanier. And Lake Sidney Lanier is the largest man-made lake in the country.
Okay.
So to the south, to the east, to the west, I got lake around me. So I live near the dead end of a dead-end road that's 8 miles from town, and no bridges except for one way in and out.
Are you serious?
It makes it really, really nice down here. There's no street traffic. The biggest thing we have is because it's a very large lake, over 30 miles long, and it's unlimited horsepower. On the weekends, they will get boats as big as the cigar boats that they run in the Keys out on the lake. And, of course, when they're running V8s wide open, you can't hear them coming up and down the lake. But other than that, no airport nearby, anything like that. So lots of wildlife sounds, but not much else.
Really?
Yeah.
And let me see, it's Gainesville, Georgia. All right, I got to check this out on the map. But go ahead, I'm going to pull it up on the map as you're talking.
So anyway, having people come to my house is just not practical. The people, when they get out here, because of all the dead-end roads, you have one artery coming in and then everything fingers off of it. People get down in here and they'll spend half an hour trying to figure out how to get back out. They get turned around because the roads are twisty. They're not straight.
Right. What an interesting place this looks like. Because that lake is just branched out. It's not like it's not like a Great Lake. It's like just branches.
Well, there's the Chattahoochee forms one. It's kind of a Y-shaped, and the Chattahoochee River forms one leg of it, and the other side of the Y is the chestity. And I live between